Welcome to the Awaken Your True You October expert interview. So, last month I started my expert interviews. Every month, the last Tuesday of every month, I am bringing to you a new expert to just open up and expose my audience to other forms of coaching that might help them with their journey to create the best relationship of their lives, to create that dream love relationship. I am Christine Bongiovanni, and I'm a certified life coach who helps women and some pretty cool guys create the love relationship of their dreams by first learning how to develop that love relationship with themselves. So, hey, you guys, here we are. I have the wonderful Monaye Marcia with me. She is one of the beautiful life coaches that I actually had the pleasure of being in class with, but we only met like through the energy waves in the room because we didn't actually have the pleasure of meeting each other until months after we got certified, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, and we connected to do an 8-week business workshop together. And I got to know this beautiful soul. And so it is a pleasure for me to introduce you to her, share her with you. And to get started, I'm just going to let Monaye uh, give a little introduction about herself, how she got into coaching, who she helps, why she helps them. So go for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on here. That course was so much fun. 8 weeks was quite a time. And it's been since it was last year, right? Because we didn't make it into the new year. Wow. I can't even believe it's been that long. But I am Monaye Marcia. I am the post-traumatic growth coach. I got into this work through self-coaching. Honestly, I wanted to have a closer relationship with everyone in my house, and I wanted to see what I could do to be the change and not try to change them. So I just was trying to create this
Mm,
cohesiveness in my home at the time,
mm,
and I learned self-coaching. And after that, there was a huge traumatic situation. My daughter's father was murdered, and I started to use what I learned through self-coaching to help her after we finished our lessons and our meetings with her therapist. And once I saw that I was helping her, and then I started helping other people that was related to that same traumatic situation, mothers, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I always knew there was this thing called life coaching, but I didn't know it was like the business of things. And then I saw that I could help people. And I did. So I signed up for certification. I went through the whole process, and I initially started just helping out mothers. I have since expanded to help out anyone that has experienced trauma and that is at the point that they no longer want that trauma to rule or control their lives, that they want to control how they show up in the world, even though this thing happened. And so now that's what I get to do. I get to work with anyone in the world because I love coaching. So we get to be international, and I help them achieve what I call the post-traumatic growth mindset. So it's been so much fun.
So I love that because we both started at the same time. And when Monet and I say Monet, am I saying it right?
It's
Can I
like
say
money with an A, like money, money, money. So it's
um,
I promise you, Monet is fine.
it's a little more French. I don't know.
Well,
But
listen, akin me to a famous painter, and I'm fine. It's fine.
right, right. Um, so, like, to be on this journey together, when we were doing that business workshop, my niche was a little different, and and you were wanting to help the daughters really that had gone through the same thing that you had gone through, right?
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
What
I
your
wanted
daughter had, what you saw your daughter go through.
exactly. Yeah. So I wanted to help the parents learn how to get close and connect with their children in the same way that I was able to do with my daughter, and teaching them what I know, because that's my whole mission, is not to hold on to what I've learned, but to actually share it out with the people so they can go and live their best lives and teach their kids to live their best lives. And then their kids can teach their other kids, like just generational change of learning how to manage our minds and our emotions and creating a new story for ourselves.
And that's the thing is that, like, when we got into this coaching, we have these ideas of who we want to help, and I did the same thing. Like, I mentored fifth and sixth graders, and those grades, that age range is so passionate to me because there's so much change going on in there, and I feel
Yes,
like that is such a good time to, like, really teach these principles. But we want to help so many people, so then we start narrowing it down, right? And that's what's happened for me, is I've narrowed down to really helping people find the love they want in their relationship. Well, so then when I connected with you about this interview, you
yeah,
told me about how you had as well evolved and changed your niche just a little bit, and not changed it, but um, evolved it, is what I would say.
yes,
Right. And so tell
yeah.
me a little bit about and well, let me step back. And so what I was saying is, for me, I'm like, okay, I can't help all the people, but when we're helping whoever we're helping that kind of ripple effect, right? So it goes
Yes,
out into maybe their children or their family or their friends or their boss, right?
yes.
So tell me a little bit about how you went from where you were to where you are right now. And yeah,
I love that you asked that. Being that the initial niche that I went into did kind of, it dealt a lot with homicide, right? And the one thing that I for sure have learned in doing that part of the work is there are many people who are not quite ready to even raise their hand and say, hey, not only did my child experience something, I'm experiencing it with them. And I'm willing to tell somebody else that I feel like a bad parent, because that's what it all came down to. And I got it, and I was like, well, how can I open myself up to allow people to have a safe space without needing to name it like I had created that homicide only, right? So that was like really naming something. And then did I have to mention that it was correlated and was close to their children? Because that's something I know that people, like, they want to help their teens, right? But they don't necessarily want everybody else to know that they feel that way. So this gives them that space to say, okay, I'm coming for me. And then eventually, the way this coaching thing works is all of that stuff come up anyway, right? And of course, that's what I know. And if you have never been coached, you'll find out once you hire your first coach, which I advise everyone to do, because had I not did my own self coaching and got coaching during that process, when I was learning what was happening and it was working for my child and my family members and the people connected, like, the coaching side of it is what gave me the know-how, like the courage to say, oh my gosh, yes, this thing is working. I got coached myself through it. Right. And then, but that's kind of how it happened. I wanted to open up that space. And then also, I really started to only focus, because kind of like what you said was like you narrowed down. I narrowed down my focus to just trauma and post traumatic growth. So it didn't
okay,
necessarily have to be homicide. It didn't have to
right,
be the mother, but it's
right,
like you had a trauma and you're at this point where I don't do any work as a therapist, right? I'm not a licensed therapist. So
right,
you're functioning, you don't need help in that portion of it, and you're ready to create a goal to grow through the trauma, right? To
right,
grow from it. So then I was able to, because that's really what I was already focusing on. I just didn't name it the way that I have now. And now
Right.
it's just like I'm talking to you
Right.
person who's been through something. I
Yes.
got you.
So tell me what trauma means, because I think for so many people, there's going to be some people that are like, well, what really happened to me is really not that much, because I know that there's so much worse going on in the world. Um, or even the other extreme, like I don't even know where to start. Um, and so tell us a little bit about what the word trauma means.
I love that you asked that question. That is such a good question. I like to I like to define it as an experience that you had that caused you suffering. It's a very clean definition. It doesn't allow it to be something that has to be up here or something down here. It's whatever that you experience. It's directly to you, not what else is going on in the world, because true, there is always something else going on in the world. But you experience something that caused you suffering.
Got
Period.
it. So
And
clear.
so it's so simple as like, no, not so simple, but it could be, bullying. As
Hmm.
adults, we get bullied just as much as kids do,
Hmm.
shaming and all of those type of things, right?
Hmm.
That's a form
Hmm.
of bullying. It could be growing up in a impoverished state, right? So you
Hmm.
grew up in a time where poverty was all around you, and now
Yeah.
you're kind of stuck in that traumatic mindset of everything I do is stuck into poverty.
Hmm.
You could see someone that has been abused, and that caused the trauma for you.
Right.
I know lots of
Right.
adults and children that have been through that. It could be a divorce. Like that's a traumatic experience for a lot of people. Breaking a breakup, a divorce, separation, moving from one side of the country to the other side of the country
There you
literally
go.
causes people suffering. And it could be for money in their job. Like
Right.
people think, oh, you should be happy. But no, that was a lot for them. Maybe they left all of their family behind and they
Right.
haven't quite learned
Right.
how to navigate that. All
Right.
right. Or it could be like I was saying, the homicide or something along those lines as well.
Right. So it's not necessarily, there's no definition in the sense of this is trauma, this isn't trauma. It's how you're feeling. It's the
Yes.
pain that, so even um, if I keep thinking about words that somebody said and how they hurt me,
Yes.
and so I don't need to feel like my problem really isn't that big of a deal. I don't have to come to you and be like, well, so this person said these words to me, and it doesn't matter, right? If I'm stuck, if it's still causing me pain, if I keep going back to it and I keep wanting them to change, and it keeps
Yes.
basically, I hear it's causing something in your past is still causing you pain today.
Yes. Yes. And that's 100% it, Chris. It's whatever that is. I love that example that you use too, because it's so like neutral for a lot of people, right? It's like something that somebody said. For instance, I was told very young that I would be an unwed mother of five and living in a poorhouse. I let those words play on my mind for so many years that I didn't even try to apply for jobs.
Mm,
Because in my mind, they had already told me my fate. Like, oh,
right,
of course, based off of this is going to be you as well.
right.
Until I decided, right? Until the work had to be done. Oh, no, they don't control that for me. But
Right. That's just their
it's caused me
thought.
a lot of years of suffering.
Right, right. And layers. So then tell me a little bit about the work. Okay. So, in the sense of not exactly what you do, but how does the process work? Is it something where I come to you? And so, my example of trauma, the one thing that I always went to was words my mom said. Y'all can go to my blog and I think it's called the Brown-Eyed Girl or something like that. And it'll give you a little idea. But how, like, let's pretend I haven't worked on this at all. And I come to you and I'm like, okay, I can't get over this. I need some help. How long am I going to expect this to take? Can I just fix this in a few sessions, or tell me a little bit about that process?
Ooh, a fun question. So this answer may shock you. You can literally get on a consult call with me, one call, and literally choose to change your whole world and be done. But that would be the far end of the spectrum, right? The fun part is you can get on the phone conversation with me, and I'll help you that first session to change your mind if that's what you want. We do that. But the work that we do together, right? I typically like to do that over 3 months. And the reason being is there's a part of you that hasn't created even the idea of growth yet. I like to help people really understand that what they're feeling, that thing inside of them, is so real. And they've been either avoiding it, pushing it to the side, scared to let it happen, hiding it from other people, just doing everything to try to rid themselves of that pain, that suffering, that story that they've been telling themselves. That's the first part of the work when people are working with me.
Yeah.
Because they don't even recognize that's the issue.
Right. So because what I see is, because I've been doing unraveling this for years, and I recognize that I could be just but my brain wants to hold on to it, because for 30, 40 years of my life, I've been agreeing with the fact that this was wrong and things need to change, and it needs to change in her. And so it's kind of, but that secret sauce that you're able to tell us in that consult is what I thought of when you said it is opening up the door to that room that you shove all your crap in, and turning the light on and being like, wait, this is just some stuff. We just need to clean this up. And literally it could be over. We just gonna.
It could be. It is literally that first. It's like if you've ever heard people say that aha moment. It's one of those that light bulb just instantly says, "Oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize I could open the door and turn the light on. Wow, who knew?" Right? That's the part. That's that initial one, but it's literally not over at that point. That's just the first step. That's the wait a minute. And some people stop there. And I always encourage them that even if you stop there with me, there's somebody else, because you're going to need to continue it. Because it's going to, the story, like you said, unraveling it for years. And because we know how our brains are, we know that the purpose of it is to save us, to protect us, to put in some survival mode. It's going to always go find that safe space.
Right.
But the tools, what I call it is I have a growth formula, right? It's a post-traumatic mindset growth formula. And the first step of that one is literally most of the work for many of my clients. And it sounds so simple. It's literally the word growth. The first step is grace. Right? It's just one tiny word, 5 letters. But going through that grace process alone, because we've beaten ourselves up so many years, right? Told ourselves it was wrong, or my fault, or I could have said something back, or I should have, would have, could have.
Yeah.
We're not used to giving ourselves grace in our trauma. Maybe for other stuff or for other people.
Right. So tell me, And I know that this is so different from every person is different. Their story is
Mhm.
different. How it affects them is different. So, like the same exact thing could happen to two people, but it affects them differently. So, how have you seen trauma play out in a person's love relationship, their intimate relationships?
Intimate with themselves or intimate with others or
Well,
both?
with their partner,
Their
who
partner?
their
Oh my
lover.
gosh.
Yeah.
Huh. Literally. Doesn't the interesting thing about that, I like to think about it as your your baggage, right? Like whenever you're getting ready to travel, or if you have children and you're getting ready to take them somewhere, and you have this one thing, right, that you bring. Oh, everywhere you go, you have to take that one thing. Even if it's just this makeup bag, you always have this makeup bag until it's like ragged and you throw it away. That's your one thing. Well, then also you got something else, this scarf or this pillow you like to take on a plane. So then you got that with you, right? And then you have this travel bag that you absolutely love. So it's gonna come with you. And then when I'm traveling, I have a special pair of shower shoes I just use for traveling and scrub when I come back home. And so those are in the bag. So right now I got four things. And the more you get into your intimate relationship with these things, doesn't matter if you're a young person with trauma, right? Or an older person with trauma, you've got bags and bags of things. And if it was just one traumatic event and you spent years telling yourself whatever that thing is that you don't want to deal with, haven't quite learned how to allow that suffering to help you, because that's such a thing. That's what I teach. You don't have to get rid of it. It's not going anywhere anyway, right? Then now you're bringing it into your intimate relationship. And that's one thing because you've been avoiding it. Now you got to hide it from your person. Now you can't fully be who you are. I call it the full integrity cycle. Like
Mm,
you love to think that you're integral, right? But you can't tell everything because you're hiding from it. Because
mm,
you don't want it to
mm,
be in the forefront. Because
mhm,
you're afraid of what it could bring up for you. Because you don't want to cry all the time,
mhm, mhm.
because you want to be able to get out of bed. So
Yeah.
now you can't even be in that full. So for me, that's always a concern when I cannot be 100% transparent because I've been hiding.
Right. So then what about when you are 100%? Well, okay, 100% transparent. What is that?
I was
Okay.
gonna say
But
99.99.
but let's say that you like, okay, I'll use myself as an example.
Hmm.
Like I share, um so I've been with my husband for 15 years. I tell him about this thing, my relationship with my mom, and he of course sees my mom a certain way, and he's like, what you talking about? Like, I think you're making all this BS up, right? And
Yes.
then so then you're like, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe she's really not like
Mhm.
that. And then so all of these, so like maybe you talk about it, but then they have their take on it. And kind of what I hear you saying is that all these pieces that we're taking with us along the journey are kind of like our padding, right?
Yes.
Like they're kind of like stuck all around us. And we're afraid to let go of them because of we've been hurt.
I love the example that you used about your own self, like being the person that did share, right? So I that the two sides of that one in your intimate relationship. So you're a person that shared, and this person had their own experience of this other person, right? Or whatever that trauma
Yeah.
thing was, whatever happened.
Yeah.
They had their own thoughts and experience about it. They could either think the same that you do, or they can think something different.
Right.
Either way, you're gonna create a new. It's so interesting because instead of just letting it be, you're gonna create a new trauma story about that response. No matter, even if they agree with you, I know it
Right.
was really bad. So, you know,
Yeah.
and then that's the next piece, that padding
Right.
you're talking about.
Right.
Literally
Right.
the next one. Or say, for instance, they didn't agree with you and they're looking at you crazy. You're like, well, I'm really crazy. So let's add on another layer.
Right. So the
Doesn't matter.
process, right.
The
So
process.
I'm hearing the process is like taking that piece,
Yes.
getting rid of it, and know that you can move forward. Let's try stepping forward without those shower shoes. And then, okay, that's been okay. And we slowly, we're removing that armor basically. And you're teaching us how to, because we have this primal need to protect ourselves, right? Which is
Yes.
legitimate, but not in this case, right? Like,
Not in a way that still continues to cause you suffering.
right,
Right. So once you learn how to be okay with what happened, in the sense that you don't have to go back there. So I don't teach, let's go back and relive this and let's dissect it 100%, because the plan is to use it to grow. So we already know it happened, right? Let's just put the facts out. It happened. This is exactly what happened. We don't need to
yes,
relive it. Now let's
yes.
decide, what do we want to do with it?
That I love, because I'm going to share that right now with you. And some of the process that I've done is that we're we're giving our power away to something, someone,
Yes.
whatever the story, our trauma story is. And you're helping them grow from that piece, whatever that
Yes.
is. And in my journey, and it will keep continuing to grow and become better, but in my journey, I actually, in September, I was taking a writing course, and one of the coaches asked the whole homeroom that I was in, name one person. It was just like a warm up session. One person that I don't remember the exact question, but that had an impact on your life. And I had been doing some good work on my mom prior to that. And this homework was to just like not think about it, like give yourself a couple minutes, answer. And my brain kept saying, my mom, my mom. And I was like, no way. And then finally I was like, I'm going to give up. And then what happened was this beautiful admission that what had happened has me doing what I'm doing today,
Mm.
helping women really unravel themselves and be their authentic, true self, to bloom that person that God planted inside of you that can't
Yeah.
bloom when it's carrying all that stuff outside of them. And this thing that happened, I mean, and there's a whole laundry list of things after that, but it was anchored on this one,
Yeah.
allowed me to be who I am today and to help the people I help today. So that's kind of the process you're doing, right? Showing them
That's
the
ex-
beauty in that.
yes. But literally the end of this growth formula that I have, so it starts with the grace and it ends with a happy ending. But the happy ending is whatever, right? So there's the adult that was fat shamed, right? And her happy ending was to just be okay with looking in the mirror, not losing
Yes.
weight.
Right.
Losing weight was never a part of the happy ending, right?
Right.
We decide what that's going to be. Now, could there be weight loss in between? Absolutely. But
Right.
whatever that is, but
Yeah.
seeing that the reason why you are who you are, or whatever that you wanted to be, or how you can go on and tell other people that now I'm body positive for myself. Now I
Right.
care and I have self-care about like my hair and dressed and things that maybe I wasn't doing because I've had this suffering all my
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
I've had this suffering for 6 months. I've had this suffering for 3 months, right? It's like now I get to stand up and never knowing where. I love that you said that thing that God placed for you. I always knew that God wanted me to teach and help people. I kept trying to do it my way, right? Because I didn't know what it looked like. And then to the point
Right.
that I stopped trying to teach altogether. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Because that was that money story about me not making money and teachers didn't make money. And I believe that in my mind somewhere. Like I can help kids for volunteer, but I can't teach. Is what and I did. I volunteered for years in schools. Like because that was what the story I created, right? And
Right.
so I was
Right.
like, but I always knew I kept feel I know it was a tugging in my heart for teaching and helping people see the good in them. Like I always knew that that was somewhere in there. And when this particular tragedy happened, no way did I think that that would be it.
Mm.
I wasn't even trying to think of signing up for coach certification.
Right. Right. And here you are
I wanted
teaching.
to just help me.
Right.
That was
Right.
the plan. It was like, okay, let me just help myself be better, right? But it was like it
Right.
was always in there. There was always this teaching, like you're gonna. And did I ever, in my wildest dreams, playing with my siblings, teaching them stuff, think that life coaching was gonna be it?
Right. Right. And you opened yourself up to it. So you
Yes,
quit like trying to figure it out on your own. You
I
opened
did. I
yourself
gave up
up to
on
it,
that one.
and look what happens. The fruit starts
Yes,
becoming edible and usable.
yeah. It was like
So,
all of a sudden, life coaching showed up in my world, and that I didn't even like. I knew people did it for business, like strategy and all, but like to actually just like help people, I was like, who, what? And then it was all around me. And it was like, either you're going to say yes or you're going to say no.
right. And
I
even,
said yes.
well, yeah. And so even for me, it was like, this is what I'm deciding right now, but I can change my mind and I'm going to be all the better either way. Either way,
Yeah.
I'm going to be better. So tell me how their trauma is affecting, you have kind of alluded to this, but how does it affect their relationship with themselves?
Oh my
You kind of
gosh.
talked about it with your with the one client
Yeah.
and her result that she ended up with or was going for, and that result is changing, right? So she, like you even alluded to, she's got this one result of accepting herself. So then
Yes.
now what? Sit there and a little bit feel good, and then now she can pick a new result, right? So
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. You know, the interesting thing about the relationship with self when you're holding on to this trauma, that's like the idea, just think about the idea of suffering. Like when you really, and a lot of the times we suffer in silence, even if we have a partner. We may not bring it up all the time because we don't want to be the person that brings it up all the time, right? So it gets to the point that you're suffering inside. And that's an internal thing. It literally, I am not kidding, it affects your body. Like, it really does. A lot of things that we have internally, internal illnesses, is literally from us holding these things inside and not being able to know how to freely let them go. There are so many different modalities to letting them go. This is one of them. And I do more than just like talking. We do some actual like body work to kind of let go of some of the things. That's one part. It's like it's really hurting you internally, your actual physical being. The second part is, and I hold this one so dear because I've seen it time after time after time in all the relationships from money to death. You don't trust yourself that you'll be able to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able to get it beyond it. You'll be
Mm-hmm.
able to figure it out. So you end up not trusting yourself, and then that shows up in other areas of your life. What else don't you trust yourself to do?
So key. So key. I actually 20 years ago, um, the Lord struck me down. Basically, I had been struggling with I don't know, the doctors couldn't figure it out. IBS is what they were saying. But
Mhm.
basically, I lost 30 pounds in like 10 days. And
Mm.
I have struggled since with, well, ulcerative colitis, autoimmune disease. And I say I don't struggle with it anymore. But anyway, it comes out of you. And that's kind of a question I was going to ask was, how do you know you're in pain? I mean, maybe this is just the way life is supposed to be.
I Oh, how do you know you're in pain? I should create. I'm gonna take some notes on that one, Chris. Um, I have to look at this replay because honestly, how do you know you're in pain? My top thing is when you think about your traumatic situation, do you do three things? Do you want to run away from it? Like literally run away from it. Like you just try to just be like, I'm gonna go over here and do something else. If somebody asks you about it, do you need to change the story? Like they start saying, "Oh, how's mom? Oh, I got no mama." Right? Like, do you just literally just say, like, that's all? We're not talking about this at all.
Mhm.
And my third thing, and this is going to be the one that a lot of people don't even realize they're doing, and it's the emotional side of it. Do you try to change your feelings about it? Like, do you tell yourself, "Oh, I shouldn't be upset about it. I shouldn't cry anymore about it. This happened 15 years ago. Why am I still upset about it? Like, why does this still make me angry? Why do I still feel like the victim? Why do I feel guilty?" Like when you're dealing with the emotional portion of it and you just want that emotion to change, like the feeling inside you, then you know that it isn't just the everyday life. And
Yeah,
only you know that.
yeah,
Only you know that.
yeah.
Because nobody else really understands your suffering internally except for you and your body does.
Right, right. So good, so good. So you're going to share a resource that you have that for your coaching, but is there a book or another resource that you love to recommend to people, wanting to find some relief from their traumatic memories, experience, or something that like kind of awakened you a little bit maybe in your journey, and just share that with.
Chris, I hate to be the person that brings us back to our childhood and to the part of our lives when we didn't stop our brains from doing what it wanted to do, even if our brains, whatever we grew up with, right, whatever experience. But my favorite book to recommend, doesn't matter your age, to really see what you're feeling inside, is to read Dr. Seuss's One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to go back and read that.
And the reason why is if you've ever read it as a child, and if you haven't, please do it. Go back and read it in a voice like you're a child. Imagine that you're reading in this, like, because there's a lot of poetry and different and then you can
Mm,
look at the words are going to be high and low, right? So
right.
literally give yourself the opportunity to feel what it feels like to be a kid without having to worry about anything.
Mm,
And it literally
love
changes your
that.
dynamic of whatever your day is just by
Mm,
reading a book that talks about so many. And it's actually a very, very good book that talks about things that we're got going on nowadays, racial
mm,
diversity and everything. People may not know that that's the backstory of that book.
mm,
But if you read it and it's talk about this one's a little taller. And so just think about you're no different. Other
mm,
people are suffering. Everything is
mm.
happening around to other people. The thing is, it's your traumatic story, and you get a chance to do something different about it.
Right. I love that. I love that. So tell us about your free course.
Yes, okay, absolutely. So I have what is called the post-traumatic growth mindset formula. It starts
Hmm.
with grace. I already told you that part. And
Hmm.
it ends with a happy ending. You can
Mm.
learn about the rest of the formula and just by going to, and I think she's going to have it in show notes. It's going to
I'm going to
be on
share
my
it.
page
Yep.
as well, a link,
Yeah.
coachmonaye.com.
Yep.
But you're going to click that link and it's going to literally give you a guide to just start achieving post-traumatic growth by
Mm,
yourself.
mm,
And then as you get to that point in the guide where there's some little help that you're going to need someone to walk you through, then that's when you start clicking on the link and working with it. But
mm,
I give you enough where you can already start, because I
mm.
believe in you can get ready to get into that space whether you think you need help or not. Like that's what I think coaching does. It allows us to start teaching people ahead of time. Like I want to teach you to already start thinking about your story as something different and that you're going to get a happy ending. Whatever's causing you suffering, you can change that and get a happy ending.
And then, and maybe even just exploring, maybe you're questioning, am I experiencing trauma? I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Um, and so then just that can help you dig a little deeper, explore. And like you have shared, is that you offer the consult session, which is
Yes.
totally free. Nobody
Yes.
should ever feel nervous. I mean, I shouldn't say you shouldn't feel nervous, because every emotion is legitimate, but to just know that it is not a pressure sale thing. It's really,
No.
I, every coach I know, I mean, I don't know all the coaches, right? But we do this because we want to help people. And so the consult is really to get you one step further, help you explore what coaching might be. So, you can take the course or do the course, kind of explore what you have to offer, and then you can always get more help by just even
Yeah.
booking a consult.
I love that you said that, because I do stage, like all the coaches I know, the plan on the consult is to take you one step further. It's literally that. And like I mentioned earlier, like that literally is a choice whether you want to stop there or go forward, because
Right,
that's the plan. And
right.
it's always about giving you tools to help you. Um, Other than that, it doesn't work for me. I'm a person that loves to be able to give back, and that's a way that it allows me to do it.
Right,
100%.
right. So, is there any one thing that you've shared so many good nuggets, but one thing um, that you could share maybe for our audience today that might be struggling with this
Yeah.
problem, trauma, or I don't know if it was trauma, should I be considering it trauma? What's one thing you can share with them?
I would literally say, if you know that you've been suffering from an experience in your life, only you know that, it's very intimate to you, and to explore that, even with the simple suggestion of reading that book to see how you light up inside, like what changes for you. And it'll give you an indication of whether that's something that was a traumatic experience, something that you want to explore and go deeper, or if it's something that you feel like, all right, I think I have a handle on this and I can get resources in other ways. But give yourself the opportunity,
Hmm, I like that.
give yourself the permission to say, huh, I want to explore this area in my life.
Yes,
And
I
it's
like
going to
that.
be good either way. Nothing's gone wrong. You're just exploring, you're just curious.
Yeah, I like that. It's been so much fun. Thank you for joining me and sharing. Any last words of wisdom you want to throw out
Create
there?
your happy ending. That's all I say. Well, it's
Mm.
not that it's going to be a perfect life, but you can create your happy ending. Just
So
so good.
can I actually create it?
You can literally, like you yourself, for yourself, can create your happy ending. You can choose how you want to feel about that trauma. You can choose what you're going to do with it.
Mm, I love
Literally
that.
your choice.
I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining and talking to my audience and just having this fun conversation.
Thanks for having me. It's really good to like catch up and see the people that you're helping in this world. And how they get to be with you. So I think that's amazing. So I'm sure.
Thank you so much for listening in, for joining the Awaken You expert interviews. If you're interested in taking this work to another level, then I want to encourage you to join my one on one coaching program where we take this work and we apply it to your love life. If you have any questions, comments, or coaching issues that you'd like to hear on my audio blog or even in my expert interviews, please send me an email. Visit me on my website and share, please. Together, let's awaken you. Ciao.